You guys have been asking me for a long time now to break down some of the works of the amazing Jason Becker, so in today's lesson we're going to talk about how to play his killer guitar solo from A Little Late Enough by David Lee Roth. Well, hey there kids, and welcome to a brand new installment of Weekend Wankshop here with your best buddy, Uncle Ben. If you guys don't already know it, Jason Becker is one of the most legendary and inspiring musicians of all time. I mean, the way I look at it is, if you are a sick enough player to replace Steve Vai in David Lee Roth's band before you're old enough to buy beer, you're probably a badass. On today's lesson, I'm going to show you guys how to play his guitar solo from A Little Late Enough from his time with the David Lee Roth Band. It's from the album of the same name. And if you haven't checked that record out before, I strongly advise that you do. It's a short solo, but it's got a lot of awesome licks and ideas that you can borrow and use in the key of D major any old time. But before we get into it, let's hear it again at stepdad speed. And as always, full tabs are available on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. Just search for hashtag Weekend Wankshop 236, find the tabs, learn how to play it, then upload a video of yourself shredding through it along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. And of course, downloadable tabs, bonus lessons, and all kinds of other cool stuff are available for as little as $1 a month to my Patreon supporters at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Or if you want to contribute your dollar papers to something far more important than me this month, I really recommend you guys make a donation over at the ALS Association. If you guys know anything about ALS, or as it's sometimes called Lou Gehrig's disease, it is the disease that robbed Jason of his ability to play the guitar, although it hasn't stopped him from making beautiful, amazing music. But it is a terrible condition that affects people all over the world, and we need to properly fund our doctors, researchers, and scientists so that they can put an end to it for all time. So consider making a donation to the ALS Association today. I'll put a link in the video description below. I recommend conjuring yourself up a nice classic British kind of sound. I'm using the Fractal Axe 3 today. I've got a 50-watt plexi dialed in here along with some, delay and reverb. Because who doesn't want to be a sauce boss? So our first lick here takes place in the familiar 7th fret B minor pentatonic position. I see some tabs and covers that have you starting off with like a run of hammer-ons like this. I don't really hear that in there personally. I think he's just doing a little slide. I might be wrong though. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm starting off from around the 7th fret on the A string and sliding into the 9th. Then you're going to go to 7 and 9 on the D. Same thing on the G, 7 and 9. Okay? He's playing those really short with the pick, kind of choking the notes out as he goes along by jamming the pick back against the string. Then next what you're going to do is pre-bend that 9th fret G string a whole step and let it down, okay? So in other words, you don't hear the bend come up like that. You have the bend already held up, and you let it down. Pull off to 7 after that. Play the 9 on the D, and then the 7 on the G. And that's the first one. Now at this point, what he's going to do here is grab the 10 on the B string, and it sounds like he takes it up 1.5 steps. It's a little hard to tell if he does a 1-step bend with vibrato that kind of takes it up into sounding like a C note. But it sounds to me like it's just a 1.5 step bend. So you're grabbing this A note and taking it up till it sounds like C. That is a big old bend. I hope you guys are using light gauge strings like I am. So after that monster bend, we're going to play this run. Now this is the 7E, 10 pulling to 7 on the B. On the G here he plays 10 pulling to 9 pulling to 7. And then the 9th on the D. Notice I'm only picking each string once. I'm not picking all those notes. I think that's how he does it because it sounds really smooth whenever he plays that. then play the 10 on the D. Then you're going to play this move. So this is the 9, doing a hammer on and pull off to 10, slide to 7, slide to 5, slide to 4, okay? Play that phrase again. Hammer to 5, pick the 5, slide to 7. Gives a little finality there at the end. And then after that, what you're going to do is to play the 5 here and slide to 3. And then what you're going to do is slide all the way up to 9. So you'll notice I changed to my 3rd finger right there. I did 1st finger, slid, then slid up to the 9 here on my ring finger. It's really important because that's going to let you get to this note, which is the next note here, the 7th fret on the G. And then we get to the fast bluesy lick that he plays. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the 9 on the G, and I'm going to bend that up a whole step, and then quickly get here to the 7 on the B. Again, this is classic, Chuck Berry kind of stuff right here. So you're grabbing that 9th G, bending it up a step, grabbing the 7 on the B. And you want to do that B string note like the nanosecond that you let go of that bend. Okay, it's really important because you don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear that bend come up and down. And also another tip I can give you here too is with the tip of the 1st finger, I'm barely touching the G string with it. I'm kind of fretting the B string on the middle of my 1st finger, like that. I'm not playing on the tip, because the thing is when you play on the tip and you let that bend down, you'll sound out the G string, But if you have the tip of that finger, there's kind of a landing pad. When you let go of that G, it'll just kind of snap back against the tip of that finger and not sound out. So it's nice and clean sounding. Really important to do that. So after I do the bend and the B string, I'm going to play this phrase. So this is the 7 on the high E, the 10 on the B pulling to 7, and that's the phrase. Really common lick. And he does that 2 times in a row. Myself, I'm picking that down, down, up, up, like that. So it's 2 downs, 2 ups. That kind of keeps my pick going in the direction of the next string, so that makes it a little bit easier for me. So after you play the lick 2 times, you're going to do the same bend again, so 9th fret G whole step, 7th B, and then walk down the G like this, 10, 9, 7, okay? So that last lick is, and then he caps the lick off, like that, 9th G, 9th D, 7th G again. So that whole fast bluesy section is. The next licks I really like because they emphasize that D Mixolydian sound. Mixolydian scale is just a major scale with a lowered 7th. So in this case you could think of it as being like a D scale, but with a C note instead of a C sharp note in it. It's like a major scale that likes to party. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing the 9 on the G, sliding to 11, 10th B, 10th high E, 10th B. Then what you're going to do is to grab that 13 here on the B. Again, there's that flat 7, the C note. So you got to think, D is right there, right? So that means a flat 7 would be right here. That's what we need for that Mixolydian kind of sound. So I've got to grab that 13th fret B string, give it a whole step bend, then let it back down to that C note to really emphasize it. And you cap that lick off with this little phrase. This is the 12 on the B, hammering to 13, 10th high E, back to that 13th B. Okay? Kind of think of that as the end of that phrase before we get into this next part that has some cool pull-offs in it. Now how I played that is I started off here on the 14th fret high E and did a pull-off to 10, grab the 13 on the B, then you're going to play the 12 on the high E, pull into 10, and then we're going to do this little run down the B string. We're going to play 13, 12, and pull off to 10. Okay? And then I like this lick a lot. It's like halfway the blues scale and halfway getting back into that Mixolydian thing with that major third right there. Again, there's your root D, so there's the major third, which is F sharp. Kind of flirting with blues and Mixolydian sounds, which I really like. So I'm doing that there as I'm playing the 13 on the G, 10th B, 12G, 10B, and then the 11 on the G. So the G is kind of walking down, 13, 12, and 11. So that makes this entire lick sound something like this. Now myself, I'm doing that all outside picked there at the end, going down, up, down, up, down. That kind of makes more sense for me because I'm kind of an outside picking kind of dude. But if you find yourself to be more of an inside picker, you might want to try playing that up, down, up. It doesn't work for me, but whatever floats your boat. After that we get to this lick, which is a cool way to outline a D major triad. Now what I'm doing there is I'm sliding into that 15th fret B string, that's my root note D. Then I gotta play the third of the chord, which is the 14th fret here on the high E, the F sharp note. So that's. Next you're gonna play 15E, 15B. Then you're gonna play 17E, 15B. Now this 17 is an A note, which is the 5th of a D chord. Your D triad is this, root, third, 5th, and he's kind of filling in the blanks with that 4th right there, your G note. Cool sound. And then after this, you're gonna do another monster bend. Grab that 17 on the high E and give that a 1.5 step bend. Let it down, then do it again. Okay, so that's 2 1.5 step bends in a row. That's a finger blaster for sure. So after you do that second 1.5 step bend, what you're gonna do is to slide into fret number 20, like this. Pick that note again, do a half step bend, and then a whole step bend. So you end up at this high D note as your finishing note. So you got the 2 1.5 step bends, sliding into 20, pick the 20, do a half step bend on 20, do a whole step bend on 20. So that last part right there, sometimes I see tabs that just go like this, just have you chromatically fretting up like that, but I don't think that's the way that he does it. It's so much sassier to play that same melody by bending the strings, because whenever you bend the strings, you're adding tension to it, you know what I mean? And you can really hear that in the pick attack, as opposed to, which sounds kind of mundane. Plus you can tell because he's got that big vibrato on that last note, which is cool. So our whole last phrase that outlines the D triad is like this. And that's the entire solo. Let's run through it one more time here piece by piece before my fingers call it a day from doing all those 1.5 step bends. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thanks goes out to Jason Becker for not only giving us so much amazing music to listen to, but for being a huge inspiration to people all over the world. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications of new videos every single week. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Ben Eller Guitars, Facebook at facebook.com/Uncle Ben Eller, and don't forget to drop me some support on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. And also don't forget to make that donation to the ALS Association to help out Jason and lots of other people out there who are suffering from ALS. I'll put links for all that stuff in the video description below. Thanks again for tuning in. Now go play some guitar for Jason. Less clicking, more picking.